It started as a regular workout, but ended in public humiliation. The gym owner saw Ivanka, suddenly approached her, and started insulting her. His words were pure shock, but the worst part? He ordered her to be thrown out. People filmed everything, and the moment a bottle was thrown at her has already gone viral. Ivanka Trump entered the prestigious New York fitness club at exactly 7 a.m. It was her first visit, prompted by recommendations from close friends who trusted the club's reputation. With a calm determination, she stepped through the glass doors, leaving behind the noise of the city. She carried only her gym bag and a quiet hope for a productive workout. Without hesitation, she retrieved her headphones from her bag, plugged them in, and began to make her way toward the cardio area. The interior of the club was immaculate. Modern equipment lined the spacious floor, and the low hum of active machines blended with soft background music. Every detail was designed to inspire focus and discipline. Ivanka's athletic outfit was both stylish and practical, perfectly suited for a serious training session. She chose a treadmill near a window that framed the early morning skyline. With deliberate, efficient motions, she adjusted the machine settings, selecting her preferred pace. The steady rhythm of her steps soon merged with the pulsing beat of her music, and she became absorbed in the physical routine that, at that moment, felt entirely ordinary. Meanwhile, Michael Bernstein, the owner of the fitness club, was making his customary rounds through the reception area. Known for his meticulous nature and unwavering commitment to the club's high standards, he rarely left any detail to chance. As he passed by the front desk, his eyes caught sight of someone familiar in the midst of the morning activity. He paused, his pace slowing as recognition set in. Ivanka Trump was here. For a few seconds, Michael stood silently, his mind rapidly processing the implications. The name Ivanka Trump carried weight, a symbol of power and controversy that reached far beyond the world of fitness. Michael's face shifted. The easy composure he normally wore gave way to a look of cold concentration. Without a word, he moved swiftly toward the reception desk, his steps measured and purposeful. Reaching the counter, Michael's tone was businesslike and edged with a hint of tension. "Is that Ivanka Trump?" he asked the administrator, his voice quiet but firm. The administrator, clearly taken aback, replied, "Yes, she's here today as a guest. She signed up for a trial session." The response confirmed Michael's suspicions and deepened the furrow in his brow. The presence of Ivanka was not just another visitor, it was a variable he had not anticipated. Back on the treadmill, Ivanka remained focused on her workout. The steady rhythm of her run and the thumping beat in her ears kept her concentration fixed on the present. She was unaware of the shift in the reception area or the storm that was quietly gathering momentum. In her mind, today was simply about maintaining her health and enjoying a well-deserved break from the demands of her public life. However, Michael's discovery of her identity had already set wheels in motion. His thoughts raced as he considered the potential impact on his club's reputation and operations. Every decision he had made to safeguard his business was now being challenged by her very presence. Michael's expression, which had transformed into one of icy determination, suggested that he was about to take action. He believed that a guest with such a notorious name might upset the carefully balanced environment he had worked so hard to maintain. As the morning progressed, a subtle tension began to infiltrate the gym. Ivanka's calm, determined strides contrasted sharply with the controlled storm that Michael now harbored. Each step she took on the treadmill seemed to echo the silent conflict unfolding in the corridors of the club. Michael's mind was already planning his next move, and he watched every detail with an intensity that promised change. The stage was now set for an unexpected confrontation. Ivanka had come to pursue her fitness goals in a place renowned for discipline and order, while Michael's discovery of her identity threatened to disrupt that calm. The early light filtered through large windows, illuminating a gym that was about to become the arena for a conflict no one had foreseen. Michael's expression changed to cold and focused. The atmosphere in the gym grew tense as Ivanka Trump finished her warm-up on the treadmill. The steady rhythm of her exercise abruptly gave way to an unsettling interruption. Michael Bernstein, the club's owner, strode purposefully over. His expression, already hardened by the sight of Ivanka's arrival earlier, had now turned into one of cold resolve. Without preamble, Bernstein halted in front of Ivanka as she stepped off the machine. "Excuse me, Mrs. Trump, but you are not exactly a welcome guest here," he stated sharply. His tone was businesslike yet edged with disdain, leaving no room for ambiguity. The few gym-goers nearby instinctively quieted their conversations, their eyes flickering between the two figures as the tension mounted. Ivanka paused, startled by the unexpected confrontation. Removing her headphones, she looked up with clear surprise etched on her face. "Excuse me, but what do you mean by that?" she asked, her voice calm but laced with an underlying firmness. She had come to the gym with the intention of a routine workout, and this abrupt hostility was not something she had anticipated. Bernstein's eyes narrowed, and his voice grew more intense. "I'm not going to serve people who are part of a regime that has ruined this country," he declared. His words cut through the ambient hum of the gym like a knife. "Do you know how many people lost their jobs because of your father? How many businesses suffered because of his policies?" Each word seemed carefully measured to strike at a deeper wound, a reminder of controversies that extended far beyond the walls of the fitness club. A flicker of tension crossed Ivanka's face as she absorbed the implications of his accusations. Despite the heat rising within her, she maintained her composure. "I just came here to work out," she replied steadily. "If you don't like my father's politics, that's your personal opinion, but I am here as a private citizen." Her voice, though measured, carried the weight of her own conviction, emphasizing that her presence was solely about her own health and not about any political affiliation. Bernstein scoffed at her response, shaking his head slightly as if to dismiss her explanation. "You are not a private citizen. Your surname is a symbol of everything I despise," he retorted coldly. His statement was final, an unequivocal declaration that left little room for negotiation. The gym, usually filled with the sound of clanking weights and rhythmic footsteps, now held its breath as the confrontation escalated. The few onlookers began to lean in, drawn by the intensity of the exchange. Their eyes widened as they absorbed the sharp words, each comment stirring further disquiet. Michael Bernstein's tone had shifted from matter-of-fact to confrontational, and the air thickened with an unspoken promise of further conflict. Even as Ivanka maintained her calm demeanor, the undercurrent of tension hinted at a storm that was far from over. Ivanka's response, measured yet firm, underscored her determination to remain focused on her original purpose. She knew that her presence in the gym had now taken on a new, uninvited significance. Bernstein's accusation wasn't merely about a political statement, it was a personal vendetta, a challenge to her right to simply be there. His words reverberated in the charged silence, and every spectator felt the impact of the confrontation. As the conversation continued, the situation grew increasingly heated. Bernstein's voice rose in volume, each sentence delivered with a mix of anger and calculated precision. Ivanka, though visibly tense, refused to let her guard down. Her eyes met Bernstein's, and in that moment, the room seemed to freeze as both figures locked in a silent battle of wills. The dialogue was not just an exchange of words, it was a clash of ideologies, a struggle between personal integrity and deeply held beliefs. Several gym members, now fully aware of the gravity of the situation, began to listen intently, transfixed. Michael Bernstein did not relent. His voice, sharp and unyielding, cut through the murmur of the gym as he continued his barrage of accusations. "Your father used his power to get rich. And now you want to work out here as if nothing happened," he demanded, his tone leaving no room for ambiguity. His words reverberated off the walls, drawing every eye in the facility toward the unfolding confrontation. Ivanka's focus wavered as the harsh reality of his accusations sank in. The calm she had maintained during her warm-up gave way to an unmistakable flicker of impatience. With measured resolve, she removed her headphones and faced him. "My father was elected by the people," she replied, her voice firm and rising with conviction. "He did a lot for the economy, for business, for Americans." Her words, though controlled, carried the weight of a deep-seated belief, a declaration meant to counter the bitter rebuke that now filled the room. Bernstein's expression darkened further, and his retort was immediate. "Economy? You're joking, aren't you? Look at the consequences," he spat. "You come here in your designer workout clothes as if you're just an ordinary person, but you have no idea how others live." His tone was icy, each word a deliberate attempt to wound. The gym, once a haven for physical well-being, was rapidly transforming into an arena of ideological warfare. Around them, the atmosphere grew charged. Gym members who had been lost in their own routines now began to gather, drawn by the escalating tension. Some whispered in hushed tones, nodding in agreement with Bernstein's harsh words, while others fumbled with their phones, capturing every moment of this dramatic encounter. The murmurs swelled into a cacophony of divided opinions, a spontaneous chorus of voices that signaled the beginning of an all-out public spectacle. Standing tall amid the brewing storm, Ivanka met Bernstein's steely gaze. "You can't kick me out just because you don't like my family," she declared, her eyes locking with his in defiant challenge. Her statement, simple yet resolute, underscored her belief that her presence was not up for debate. In that instant, it was clear that this confrontation was about more than a personal grievance. It was a collision of two opposing worlds, each with its own vision of justice and respect. Bernstein's reply was as blunt as it was uncompromising. "I can. This is my business, and I decide who works out here," he said coldly. His words were final, and they seemed to reverberate off every surface in the room. The declaration sent shockwaves through the gathered crowd, and soon, the onlookers began to voice their opinions. "The owner is right," came one shout from a group near the entrance, while another voice countered, "That's too much. She hasn't done anything here." The split in reactions only fanned the flames, intensifying the atmosphere with each passing second. As the verbal duel continued, the crowd's energy shifted palpably. Some members leaned in closer, their faces etched with anticipation, while others took out their phones, determined to record every moment of the confrontation. The clamor grew louder, punctuated by the occasional cheer or jeer, until the entire gym was engulfed in an unmistakable aura of discord. Every comment and every gesture contributed to the escalating tension, and it was clear that the dispute had evolved far beyond a simple exchange of words. Despite the rising chaos around her, Ivanka maintained her composure. Her calm defiance was a stark contrast to the charged hostility Bernstein exuded. "I'm here as a private citizen," she reiterated, her voice steady even as the room vibrated with conflicting opinions. "I deserve to work out without being hounded for who I am." Her insistence was not just a defense of her right to be there. It was a challenge to the very notion that her identity could be used as a basis for exclusion. Bernstein's eyes flashed with cold determination as he dismissed her protest. "I decide who works out here," he repeated, his tone brooking no dissent. At that moment, a few voices from the crowd joined in the chorus of discord. "Kick her out," one person shouted, and another added, "Enough is enough." The gym, once a symbol of discipline and order, now bore witness to a raw and unfiltered confrontation that revealed deep societal rifts. The intensity of the exchange magnified with every heartbeat. The clash of ideologies was palpable, and every spectator felt the weight of the words being thrown like gauntlets. Bernstein's accusations and Ivanka's steadfast retorts mirrored the larger cultural and political conflicts that lay simmering beneath the surface of everyday life. In that charged space, every whispered comment and every raised phone was part of a larger narrative, a narrative that was quickly spiraling out of control. As the minutes dragged on, the room became a battlefield of clashing convictions. Ivanka's words echoed with determination as she repeated, "I am not defined by my family's politics. I am here to work out, and I demand the same respect as any other member." Her voice, resolute and unwavering, battled against the tide of animosity that Bernstein had stirred. Meanwhile, the crowd's divided voices merged into a single, dissonant roar. With every passing second, the situation escalated further, teetering on the edge of outright chaos. The confrontation had transformed from a personal dispute into a public spectacle, a flashpoint in a community already divided by conflicting values and expectations. Every eye in the gym was fixed on the two figures at its center, as if the outcome of their clash could determine the very future of the space they occupied. The tension was so thick it was almost tangible, and the final outcome remained uncertain as both sides dug in their heels. By the time the arguments reached a fever pitch and the crowd's fervor seemed to boil over, it was evident that this was not the end, but only a prelude to what was coming next. Michael Bernstein's glare sharpened as he signaled to one of his security guards. With a swift, deliberate motion, he waved his hand in the direction of the guard, commanding, "Take her out." The guard, positioned near the entrance and already tense from the charged atmosphere, stepped forward. However, his approach was tentative. His eyes flickered with uncertainty as he surveyed the scene. The situation was too volatile, the air so thick with hostility that every step seemed to echo a warning. Ivanka, standing at the center of the storm of murmurs and raised voices, immediately grasped the gravity of what was unfolding. The idea of being forcibly removed from the gym in such a public manner was unthinkable. It would ignite a scandal that could reverberate far beyond these walls. Her mind raced as she assessed her options. Lowering her head for a brief moment, she steadied herself and then raised her eyes to meet Bernstein's. In that charged instant, the defiance in her gaze shone through even as her posture betrayed the weight of the moment. "This is nothing but discrimination," Ivanka stated in a measured yet resolute tone, her voice clear over the rising din. "You are persecuting me because of politics." The accusation hung in the air, a direct challenge to the authority Bernstein wielded over his establishment. Her words, simple and unadorned, cut through the tension like a scalpel. They were not just a defense of her right to be there, but an indictment of a decision that she believed was unjustly motivated. Bernstein's expression remained unmoved by her plea. His voice, cold and unyielding, replied, "Call it what you want, but you will not train here." The statement was absolute, leaving no room for negotiation or appeal. It was a declaration that the rules of his business were not subject to the ideals of fairness or political correctness. In his eyes, the gym was his domain, and he would dictate who belonged within its walls. His words resonated with an authority that was both chilling and final. Realizing that the argument had reached an impasse, Ivanka's heart pounded steadily as she took stock of the escalating situation. The atmosphere around her had grown frigid, the murmurs of the gathered crowd morphing into audible expressions of judgment and support. It was clear that the gym was no longer just a place to work out. It had become an arena for a public spectacle, a battleground for conflicting ideologies. Without another word, Ivanka reached for her gym bag, her fingers closing around the strap with a sense of finality. There was no further point in prolonging the confrontation. With her head held high, she turned away from the tumult and began making her way to the exit. Each step was measured and deliberate, a silent proclamation of her unwillingness to be cowed by the storm that had been conjured around her. As she moved steadily toward the door, the charged energy in the gym erupted once more. In a moment that seemed to capture the raw, unfiltered anger of the crowd, one of the visitors suddenly shouted, "Get out with your politics." The cry was forceful, echoing through the space like a rallying call for those who had grown incensed by the spectacle. The voice was not isolated. It was quickly joined by another, and then another, until the clamor swelled into a unified outburst that reverberated off every wall. Before Ivanka could even register the full impact of the shouts, the situation took a sudden and dramatic turn. In the midst of the chaos, someone from the assembled onlookers hurled a plastic water bottle in her direction. The bottle sailed through the air, a tangible symbol of the hostility that now defined the scene. It struck no one directly, but its mere presence, an act of aggression captured in an instant, spoke volumes about the charged emotions of the moment. Ivanka did not flinch as the bottle passed by. Instead, she maintained her composure, her expression resolute and unyielding. She was no stranger to public scrutiny, and she had learned to withstand the barrage of criticism that often came with her name. Yet, even in this moment of unprovoked attack, she remained silent, refusing to let the act provoke an emotional response. Her calm demeanor in the face of blatant aggression underscored a strength that was as much about control as it was about defiance. Unbeknownst to her, every moment of the unfolding drama was being recorded. Phones were raised, and videos were captured from every angle as the confrontation evolved into a public spectacle. The footage would soon circulate across social media, becoming a flashpoint for debate and discussion far beyond the confines of the gym. The implications were already spiraling out of control, promising repercussions that neither party had anticipated. With her exit now imminent, Ivanka walked steadily toward the door. The cacophony of voices, the shouts, the jeers, the occasional supportive murmurs, followed her like a relentless tide. The air was thick with tension and unresolved anger, a stark reminder that the clash of ideologies was far from over. As she stepped out into the cool air of the early evening, she left behind a gym that was now a stage for conflict and division. Ivanka left the facility amid a roar of voices, her departure marking the end of a confrontation that had reached its brutal climax. Within hours, the video of the incident spread like wildfire online. Social media exploded with clips of Ivanka Trump being publicly humiliated at the prestigious New York fitness club. Headlines flashed across every major outlet. Ivanka Trump publicly humiliated at New York fitness club. Did the gym owner have the right to kick her out? And scandal that divided the country. businessmen stands against the Trump family. The raw footage, capturing every heated word and hostile gesture, ignited outrage and support in equal measure, turning a gym dispute into a national flashpoint. Public reaction split into two distinct camps. On one side were those who backed Michael Bernstein, arguing that as a business owner he had every right to enforce his own rules. It's his business, supporters insisted, and he can decide who is welcome here. Many praised Bernstein for his decisiveness and for standing against what they saw as the undue influence of a powerful family. For them, his actions were a necessary assertion of authority. On the other side, a vast group decried the incident as blatant discrimination. Critics maintained that Ivanka, regardless of her family ties, was there solely as a private citizen and deserved the same respect as any other customer. This isn't about business, it's about fairness and equality, one social media post read. Hashtags condemning the gym owner's decision began trending, and numerous calls for a boycott of Bernstein's club surfaced across various platforms. Amid the growing uproar, Ivanka's legal team quickly issued a statement. They announced that she was considering taking legal action for unlawful denial of service. The brief but forceful declaration argued that her removal from the fitness club was discriminatory and violated her rights as a customer. Legal experts speculated that a court case could set a precedent for how businesses handle politically charged clientele, further fanning the flames of controversy. Meanwhile, Michael Bernstein granted an interview that soon became a centerpiece of the scandal. "I did what I believed was right," he stated calmly, his tone resolute. "She does not deserve to train here after everything her family has done." His remarks, delivered without remorse, resonated with his supporters but only deepened the anger of his detractors. Bernstein maintained that the gym was his domain and that his decision was based purely on his right to manage his business as he saw fit. As the video and interviews circulated, the public debate intensified. Talk shows, news panels, and online forums were soon filled with impassioned arguments. Pundits dissected every word, and every new video clip or comment added layers to an already complex narrative. What began as a dispute over gym membership had morphed into a broader confrontation over discrimination, free association, and the role of political legacy in everyday life. Public opinion polls conducted in the wake of the incident revealed a deeply divided nation. Nearly half of those surveyed believed Bernstein was within his rights, while the other half saw his actions as an unacceptable abuse of power. The incident spilled over from traditional media into the realm of social media, where each tweet, blog post, and video comment amplified the national debate. The fitness club, once a quiet space dedicated to self-improvement, had become a battleground for clashing ideologies. Local business owners weighed in on the controversy, with some cautioning that such actions could invite legal repercussions, while others defended their right to manage their properties as they saw fit. Activists organized rallies and online campaigns demanding accountability and justice, their voices merging into a resounding call for change. The scandal, fueled by the relentless energy of the internet, continued to gain momentum with every passing minute. As evening descended, the narrative shifted from heated debate to a more personal dimension. Ivanka, whose public image had taken a significant blow, became the reluctant symbol of the controversy. Supporters rallied around her, emphasizing her right to be treated as a private citizen, while her detractors saw her as a representation of a broader political legacy that needed to be challenged. In interviews and opinion pieces, experts argued that the incident would have long-lasting implications for public discourse on power and privilege. Then, as the gym lights dimmed and the building emptied, the final scene of the day unfolded. Ivanka stepped out of the fitness club, her expression resolute despite the turmoil behind her. Outside, a throng of journalists had already gathered, their cameras flashing and microphones thrust forward. In that charged moment, Ivanka paused at the door, her silhouette framed by the dim glow of streetlights and the relentless glare of media attention. A reporter's question cut through the clamor, but Ivanka merely glanced at her phone, where a barrage of breaking news headlines scrolled across the screen. In the quiet of that suspended moment, caught between the roar of the crowd and the intimate focus of her own thoughts, the camera slowly zoomed in on her face, capturing a look of determination mixed with weariness.